Okay. Good morning once again. Um, Today we are going to be covering module 3, which would be looking at creating a Canvas app in Power Apps. Um, I think we have dealt with the introduction, but I'm going to go through it again. And this module shouldn't take time um, to cover. So whenever you are stuck, just let me know so that I can get you up to speed. So now let's look at the agenda. We will be looking at getting started. Um, we will get started with Power Apps. After that, we will customize a Canvas app in Power Apps. We will manage apps in Power Apps. We will navigate in a Canvas. We'll look at navigation in a Canvas app in Power Apps, and then we will look at how to build the UI in a Canvas app in Power Apps, and then we will use and understand controls in a Canvas app in Power Apps. So the reason why you would see this, the reason why you see all this in Power Apps, whenever we're doing something, we are saying in Power Apps is that not only can you do it not only can you do that in Power Apps, you can also create your Canvas app in Teams. You can uh, do your navigations and everything also in Teams. So hence now we are specific to which environment are we gonna do um, our our work. Now let's get started with Power Apps. I mean, Power Apps, we've already touched it, so this is just more like a refresh course. So there are ways to build Power Apps applications, and the three primary ways that apps can be created are from a template, from a data source, or from a blank canvas. I touched just a little bit of how you can do that, and then we will be using Power Apps Studio for the functionality of the app and the features that we will want in the app. So this learning path is focused on Canvas apps, which gives you the flexibility to arrange the user experience and the user interface the way you want it to look like. You can get started in many different ways. However, for all options, we will definitely get to use Power Apps Studio. Okay. And then let's look at creating an app from a data source. So the following app was created from a SharePoint list and lets you browse items in the list, view item details, and create and edit items. I remember in our first module, I just created an application for a SharePoint list, excuse me, an application from a SharePoint list. And basically, we didn't need to do any heavy lifting of that application because we built it from a data source and then which came with all the functionalities. So to refresh you guys, I'm gonna do it again, but then let's get moving. And once we start building, we will build all the apps so that you can get to see the difference. So let's look at designing a Power Apps application. So, as an app maker, before you begin building your Power Apps solutions, it's recommended to go through a design process. So, you have to consider factors such as your business requirements, offline mode, data model, user experience, user interface, business logic, and the output. Okay, as always, before building your application, you have to think of the requirements. What are you trying to solve? Um, with whatever steps that you're going to do. Are they solving the problem? And then also here they're also adding an offline mode. Do you want your application to continue working even if the user is offline, right? And then also the data model. Obviously, your app is based on data, so you have to make sure that you cover all the bases of data modeling. You have to make sure you have to know which data you're storing, where you're storing it, how does it relate to one another, how do you consume that data also, and then also now you have to think of user experience and user interface, because with Canvas app you do it for, you 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 are the one who's responsible for the UI. Unlike model-driven app, you get a responsive UI. Maybe you get to tweak the views here and then, the forms here and there, but then you get some sort of a uniform UI throughout your application. But here, you are the one who's responsible for the user interface and experience on how the users will interact with your application, how your users will move from one step to another. And then also you would have to look at your business logic, and as well as making sure that the data that you get from users is very, very, how should I put it? The data is more of the correct data that you need. You make sure that you apply your business rules to make sure that you have the data that you want, and it's also um it is also let me admit this person. Okay. And then you make sure that your data is the same throughout. Even if another user uses the data, uses the app, they will provide the same data as the previous user, or rather you have some sort of required data. Okay, so if you look at on our right hand side there, you can see that we have like we started from a blank screen to something that looks very nice. As you can see here, it's just a service desk support. You can see all the tickets that have been made, the tickets that are new, that are in progress, that are on hold, that are closed, and that are older than 3 days, and that were opened today. Okay, so this is some sort of desktop support, and then this app helps the supporters, or rather the technicians, to keep track of all the issues that have been reported, all the issues uh, that are in progress, that have been resolved, and all those things. Okay, now let's move. The exercise here, you create your first app in Power Apps. So as I've said that I'm working on getting you guys the manuals. You should get the manuals by today, before the end of today, so that you can get started with reading more on your own about Power Platform, as well as doing the exercises. Okay, so here that they're creating a first Power Apps. We will get to do this, so I prefer that we go through a little bit of this slides, and then we will get to now focus on we dive into this Power Apps Canvas app, because I don't want to go back and forth. I want us maybe to get the idea, and then once we get the idea, then everything we put it into practice. Okay. And then now let's look at customizing a Canvas app in Power Apps. Also, this should be a demo. We would also cover it, right? But then I want us to cover some aspects before you can actually go and build. So I've touched on this ribbon before, but then I guess I didn't touch everything that comes with the ribbon. So let's look at the controls in Power Apps. a top ribbon, and that top ribbon, it has a few of controls. Not a few, actually, most of the controls are there. Okay, and then here we're just looking at just a little bit of those controls. We have, if you go to insert, and that's where you will get all your controls there. And then we have gallery, which is a layout container that holds a set of controls that show rows from a data source. So gallery, take it as an image gallery. So an image gallery takes more like a list of images that is stored in your, either in your phone, or those who use um, who store their information in the cloud, the images would be stored in the cloud, right? So the gallery only takes that list, or that, yeah, that list of information, and then it displays it. For others, it might display it as a list, or as a row, as a grid, where you get to see a little icons of your images, or a little your images, but then in a little square box like. So essentially, that's how a gallery is also here. But then you can style it to be a little bit more how you want it. You can give it your look and feel, so that it looks somewhat unique, or it looks in a way that fits your business needs. Okay. And then we have what we call forms. Now, forms, they show detail about your data and let you create and edit rows. So forms, they give you the ability to write to your data source, right? So your application, let's say you have a live application, you'd have to insert the date of that application. You have to insert whatever information, let's say the type of leave that you want to do. So once you click apply, then we want to store that information somewhere in a database, in a table, or in a SharePoint list, right? To keep track of the applications that you have made. Okay, so we would use forms for that. And then we also have what we call a media. So the media lets you add background images. Um, you can also include a camera button. You can have a barcode reader and many more. So it doesn't limit you. You can also get to view PDFs within your applications. You can view videos. You can play videos also. You can use a camera within your application also using that media control. And then we also have charts, and you would add charts so that users can perform instant analysis while they are on the road. So it's some sort of reporting, you know. Let me try and go back and see. So here we don't have any charts, right? But then, as you can see here, we have 5 items, 5 tickets in progress. We have 2 closed. We have 3 on hold. Instead of doing this, I can just hoy in a chart there. And then after I hoy in a chart there, I will be able to see, okay, um, um, tickets, I can represent, rather, let me say, I can represent this information in a chart instead of just putting uh, um, them separate like that. But then also it depends on your UI. It depends on how you want your application to look and feel. So yeah, let's get moving. Okay, and then yeah, those are few controls that we are looking at, but then we definitely have more controls, right? That we can also work with. Okay, and then here we have explore screens and controls in Power Apps. So the app that we will build, we will more like sum up everything, right? So then hence I want us to just maybe cover everything, because once I get to the app, I would want to cover most of the stuff, and then you wouldn't know actually what's this. And then once we get here, I'll have to now also go back again to the app and try and show you again. So we will get to do that. So here we are looking at using controls. So we have a browse screen, and then in the browse screen we have a browse gallery, and then that browse gallery has a next arrow, and then it has an icon for new item, right? So the gallery now, look at the gallery. The gallery would start, if you look at your right hand side diagram, it starts from here to all the way down, and then inside that gallery we have rows of information. If you don't prefer rows, you can make some sort of square or a grid view of your gallery. And then here we have a row of data or a list of data inside our gallery, and then we have an arrow. So this arrow essentially is for you to view that specific item. Let's say here I have extreme series, and once I click this arrow here, it should take me to details about this extreme series. It should give me all the information there is to do about this extreme series, right? As you can see, it's an icon uh, that when selected, it has a formula that opens the detail screen. So then that means you would put in a formula to say, once you are clicked, and as we've looked at something like on select, right? So once you select it, we say on select, you would put a formula to say navigate to the next screen, and then you should also fetch this data. You should know which data has been selected so that you can display. You can go to your data source and get the correct information and get to display it. And then we have a new item icon. It's right there at the top. So it's not part of the gallery, right? But then this icon plays a huge role in terms of inserting new data. So you would also have a formula to say, once I click this, I want to navigate to a new screen, and then that new screen, it will be where I'm adding my what, in that new screen is where I'm adding my data, right? And then that new screen will also have a form, a new form. So we also have to be aware of resetting forms, especially when you are trying to keep your application to not have as many screens as possible. So for instance, I can use exactly one form to display data, to update data, as well as to create new data, instead of creating three different forms that I will need to use throughout. So I can use one form. So then my application would be more like, it will have less screens, and then it will have some sort of reusability um, kind of approach, right? Which would then increase the performance of my application. And I'll get to show you guys how you can do that, and then what are the tricks of doing that. Okay, so yeah, once you click the arrow, it will take you to a new screen, and then you would be able to edit or create. Well, you'd be able to create a new you would be able to create a new data, rather. So, and then now we are moving. So here we are exploring this particular app. So for now, we have looked at the gallery. We have looked at um, the arrow that is in the gallery. We have looked at the icon for creating new items. So now let's look at what happens when you click the next arrow. If you click this arrow, let's look at what happens. So you will be taken to a detail screen of that specific of that specific item that you selected. And then the detail and the detail screen, actually this is a detail form, but then it's in a view mode, hence you can't really tell if it's a form or not, right? So, and then as you can see, it's a detail form, one which contains other controls and a data card for each column of the row that is being displayed. And then we have data card. So the data card is only a one item. So category is a carpet, right? So that means this whole thing is a data card because this is a label and then this is the item that you have selected, right? So also overview, it's a label and then this is the information that you would have inserted. So also this part here, we can look at it as a data card. Also price and 12, it's a data card. So take it more like a data card would be um, a an input field and a label that goes with it in a form. So in a form, if you have name and then you have a space where you enter your name. So those two things, we call them a data card because they are one. They form one part of a form, right? So, or one card of an input of a form, right? Which is a label and the input field. So then we call it a data card. Okay, and then a card that represents a single column of the row. That's what is a data card. And we also have an edit icon. So once you click that edit icon, depending on how you structure your application, right? Either it will navigate you to editing the form in a new screen, or it can just change this form uh, um, into it can change this form from a view mode into an edit mode where you can edit that information. As I've mentioned that me ideally I would use only one form to do everything, right? It also depends on the architecture, how you planned everything, because everything goes with planning. And then once you have your planning, you have a strategic planning and make sure that everything is covered, then you get to use all these things. So once you click the edit icon, you will have a formula which opens the create or edit screen so that the user can edit. So that means once you click here, it will go to another screen where you get to edit this form. Okay. Let me admit someone. I see that someone who's in the lobby. Okay. Okay. Let's move along. Okay, now we're gonna obviously look at, because there's nothing much, that means we're gonna look at what happens once you click on the edit icon, right? So let's get into it. Okay, so um now that you have clicked the edit icon, you would have an edit form. You see now that the first form, it was a details form. Now we have an edit form. Now the form control contains other control data card, other controls, a data card for each column of the row that is being edited. And then as you can see, we still have a data card, but then now it's in an edit mode, not in a view mode. And also you have an overview, which is also in an edit mode, not in a view mode. And all the data cards are like that. And then you can insert your information. And then once you're done, we have that tick here icon, which is accept. So once you click this icon, you are submitting the data that you have edited here. So that means you are technically saying, I'm submitting this data. Okay. Do we have any questions so far? Okay, we don't have any questions. And like I mentioned, we will cover most of the things, but then do also try them out by your um, on using the student manual. I will make sure that you have the manuals before the end of the day. Okay, now let's look at managing apps in Power Apps. Um, each Canvas app has multiple management options available, which include version management, sharing apps with other users, as well as managing environments, right? So let me also admit this person. Okay, sorry for that. So um, version management is very important. It's very important that you are familiar with this version management. Why? Um, if you create an application now and then you save it, you publish it, and then you come and say, oh, I want to add a few new features, right? Then you come and add those features. Once you save that, once you get to save that, once you get to save that application or Canvas app and publish it, um, a version, a second version of that application will be created. So that means you don't necessarily replace the old version, but then there's a new version that's created, right? So then to make sure that even if now you are in testing mode or something just crashes, you can just revert back to your first version. You can go to your version control management and then select to go to the older version and then make it to be live, and then you can then get to work into your version 2 until it's done. Then you can then republish it and then select it to be the one that would be live. And then you can also, as time goes, maybe you want to make sure that you have maybe 2 or 3 versions. Then that means you would want to delete older versions to make sure that you are up to speed with the versions that you want. But then all the older versions will be deleted after some time. So then you don't need to actually every now and then go and delete older versions. But then you wouldn't want to have maybe 10 versions in a week or in 2 weeks, right? So then you have to make sure that whenever you're building an app, you don't publish it every now and then. You just save it and then make sure that all the information that you have there is the correct information, right? And let me try and unmute this person. Okay. Um, okay. Yeah. So yeah. And then once you have published your app, you can share the app with other users, and then you can give them permissions to do specific things. But then it's also worth noting that if you are using something like a SharePoint list, they should have some sort of write and read. Well, okay, they should have write permissions in order for them to actually write to in order for them to use the create a button and be able to successfully submit information. Okay, and then also managing environments. We know the environments, so you can have a development environment, you can have a testing environment, and then you can have a production environment. So we have already touched this yesterday, so I'm not gonna waste time um, trying to cover it again. So now let's look at here you would manage the versions. We'll also get to do that, right? So hence I'm trying to just push and push and push, okay? And then also we will get to share the the app and then understand the environments. Also, all these exercises are in the manual. So once you get the manual, you'll get to just you will flow, because I would have covered them, and then you would have just did some practice on your own, and then once you get the manuals, you will be ready to go. Now let's look at navigation in Canvas app, right? Uh, so um, considering that you have you would have more than one screen in a Canvas application, because there's one where you would want to display information that's already there, or you want to display some sort of analytics, and then there's a page where you would want to add information. There's a page where you'd want to see the details of a specific information. There's a page where you would want, or a screen rather, where you would want to edit and update an existing what an existing information, right? So you would navigate to and from screens every now and then. So then let's now get to look at this navigation. Now, since most apps have multiple screens, understanding how to implement the navigation function in your app is critical. And typically, you can typically add that uh, on the on select property of a button or an icon. And the formula is very straightforward, right? Okay, I see there's someone who's also in the lobby. Let me admit them. Okay, so the formula of for navigation is very straightforward. Nothing complicated. You just say navigate, and then you specify the screen, and then also after specifying the screen, if you want some transitioning, you would okay, let me try and because I see this person has been trying to connect, but then I can't see them. Okay, either way, they will refer to the recording if they can't connect. Okay, so if you want some animation, you would add a screen transition field, which specifies which transition effect, if any, should be used in the app. If you don't have any transition, you can just say navigate, and then you specify the name of the screen, and then this is all you need for navigating, right? Those who have done software dev would consider this as a function, right? Now, the function which receives an argument, or a or receives a property which is a screen, and then now you're invoking this function, and then you're giving it a screen. So then once you call it, it will look at the screen and say, okay, I need to move to this screen. Okay, so we have different types of transitioning. If you want your app to have some sort of animation, instead of just a page appearing a like it was just thrown in the screen. So you would want maybe to use some transition to make some sort of smooth flow of um, uh, screens and smooth flow of transitions of screens in your application. Okay, so we have cover, we have fade, we have none, we have uncover, right? So um, whenever you want to call this um, 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 this transitions, you would firstly say screen transition dot cover, and then it will then it will and it will slide the new screen into the view, and then it will cover the current screen. So once you say cover, I think it would be from right. if you don't specify also the direction. If you just say cover, it will just appear from your right. It will slide in the view. So then it will slide from left to right, covering the previous screen. And then fade, the old screen would fade away, and then the new screen would somewhat appear during that fade. And then also we have a transition, which is none, and which means that the old screen is quickly replaced with the new screen. So if it's none, if you don't provide the transition, it is automatically set to none. So you don't necessarily need to, if you want your transition to be none, you don't necessarily need to refer that. And then the screen transition, we also have uncover. So if your cover is from right to left, uncover would be from left to right. So it's more like a reverse of cover. So if it's more like, let's say you have a back button, right? You clicked an information and then it covered. So your back button, you would want to use uncover. So which uh, gives you an animation of more like a sliding screen. So it slides in and then it slides out. Yeah, and then you should know that the back function uh, can be used to users to can be used to users to back the previous screen that they navigated from. Okay, yeah, the English ran away here, but then you can use the back function to actually get to explore this cover and uncover function, right? And which provides you with a greater flexibility over the navigation function. Okay, and then we also can hide screens. So hidden screens allow the creator of the app to add screens but not give users access to those screens. And then they can be accomplished by not creating any navigation for users to those screens. Example, we have documentation screen, settings screen, special permissions screen. So think of it this way. Let's say you are creating an application where let's say it's more like a news feed application about the company. So every news or every announcement that's there in the company is displayed in that application. Obviously, you don't want everyone to have the ability to create um, the ability to create notifications or announcement in the company. So what you would do, you would hide that screen and then only give it to people who have some sort of special permissions, right? You should create some roles also, and then if the logged in user has that role, then you can give them that ability to create announcements, and also maybe in a, I think let's just pack it there, but then we'll get to look at other examples. So use back and navigation functions, we will definitely do that also. And then this exercise also, it says use navigation function. It's also in the student manual, we'll get to look at that. Don't worry. Now we are looking at how to build the user interface in Canvas app in Power Apps. Okay, so a quick and easy way to change colors in your app is to apply a theme, right? So you would have noticed in the first module, we had a blue or a dark blue application that I created from a template, and then I sort of changed the theme, and then it gave me some sort of a darker theme, and um, it it conforms with. So if you want your application to have some sort of uniform look, you would set a theme to say that whenever you add a button would be red, and then that's your theme, right? And then whenever you have some sort of a, color filling in each and every component, it would be to that specific color of that theme. So then for your theme, you would find it in home, and then just near new screen, you would see theme there, and then you select your theme, and then it will be applied throughout your application. So that's the quickest way um, for managing the appearance of the UI. Or if you prefer, having some sort of different look and feel, you can definitely do that manually. But then the easiest and quickest way, as well as the recommended ways to use the theme. And then we have a branding control. As noted earlier, one of the built-in theme may not match your organization's desire to look and feel for your desired look and feel for the app. So you can customize. You can definitely customize your app by changing various properties of the app control, by adjusting a few of the control properties, like fill, like hover, and the border of each and every button, of each and every control that you might have. And then you can completely change how the control looks. And if you decide to customize your controls, it's recommended that you do this through testing to ensure that you don't run into any complications when users interact with the app. For example, consider the button control. Consider the button control, right? So the following are some of the properties a button control has, right? You would have a border radius, you would have a fill, you will have a what else can you have? You would have some sort of a text, a text color, uh, rather font color, as well as font size and font weight. So then you can change those things to fit your organizational needs, right? And then here we have some color settings are only controlled by the theme. So here, take for instance a calendar. You don't get to choose how this color here, this blue color here should look, but you should select a theme to say, okay, if my company decided to use orange, you just select that orange, right? And then make sure that that orange, excuse me, that orange is in line with your company's color. And then this control will definitely take that orange. And then you cannot change it manually, come and try and change it here. It will just adopt the theme color. So you should be aware that there are certain control and there are certain aspects of controls that cannot be altered and are specific to the theme that you select. Okay, we also have icons. When designing your app, you should utilize shapes and icon controls when possible to enhance your user experience. And then there are certain shapes and icons that are universally recognized that you will find in many of the apps that you use on a daily basis. Now, for example, instead of adding a button control to your app and setting the onSelect property to back, you could just easily use the back icon, right? So you see we have a back icon here. Instead of inserting a button and then changing the text to back and then doing some functionalities, you can just take this icon and then put it in your app. The user would definitely know what this arrow is for, right? And then you would just put in a formula to make sure that it goes where it's supposed to go. And then let's move to images, right? So the image control is a control that shows an image, and the image may be from a local file or a data source. Adding an image such as a company logo is an easy way to enhance the overall look and feel of your app. And on each screen, you can apply a background image as well as multiple image controls. You are not limited to a certain number of images that you can display. So you can have as many images as you would like. And too many images may cause issues with the app performance, obviously, and the load time, but you would have to add some quite a few large images for this to be um, to be an issue. Okay, so let's look at what you can do. So the name of the image that appears in an image, audio, or microphone, and then you have image um, position. So the position is fill, fit, stretch, tile, or center. So you can control where that image would be, uh, right? And then and you also have transparency. So, transparency would be the degree of which the controls behind an image remains visible. So, if you don't want your image to be completely visible, you can alter the transparency property of that image, right? And then we have personalization. So in module one, remember I had just a dummy application where you just click attend, and then it will definitely just say welcome whoever to today's training session. um, you would have noticed that I used a user, well, yeah, a user function, right, which returns a row of information about the current user. And then you saw that I used a user.full name, where it's displayed my full name. And then you can also say user.email, which will give you the email address. And then you can say user.image, which can also display an image. Excuse me for my yawnings. Um, you can say user.image, which will display the image of the logged in user if they have an image. All right. Now we have using the tablet or phone form factors. It is important to design your app for the primary device that it will be used on. So if your application is, you want it to be used in a mobile application, then you should approach it like that. So you should make sure that everything is built, excuse me, everything is built from a mobile application standpoint. So as you can see, the screen here, it has a mobile application resolution, if I may say. Okay, so it's very important to know which for which device are you catering for. But then we also have some sort of responsive design that you can use. You can have some sort of excuse me for the noise. Um, okay, it is very important um to know which device are you catering for. Are you building an application that will be solely used for on mobile devices? Sure, do that. And if you want it to be used on tablets and desktops, you should also um, use those kind of layouts. You do have an option that you can select, and then also we have some sort of responsive design. Um, we will get to look at, but then I'm not gonna touch much of it. But then yeah, we'll get to look at it and how to build responsive applications. Okay, so let's look at using the tablet or phone form factor. Now, app size can be altered based on the form factor uh, and that will be consumed on. So be sure to select the appropriate size for the majority of your app users. So we have the tablet sizes which are available, which is 16 by 9, which is a default view. We have 3 by 2, which is a Surface Pro 3. We have 16 by 10, which is a widescreen. And then we have 4 by 3, which is an iPad. And you can have a custom where you specify um, the width and the height of your of your your screen size. And then also the phone form factor does not include screen size options. So if you are building for a phone, you should know that you won't have some sort of sizes, different sizes that you can choose. Okay, and then now let's look at using and understanding controls in a Canvas app in a Power Apps. Okay. We've already looked at controls already, so I'm gonna pass. And then now let's look at the core properties of controls. While each control may have slightly different properties, the following are important ones to be aware of. We have default, which is an initial value before it changes by the user, before it is changed by the user. We have items, which is the source of data that appears in a control, such as a gallery, list, or chart. We have on change, and this is how the app responds when the user changes the value of a control. For example, when a user selects a different value in a drop down, you would want to perform specific functions. Let's say maybe your application has some sort of categories of um what I don't know, maybe categories of movies that is a you wanna you wanna maybe show movies by categories. So the drop down, once that has changed, you would want to perform to write specific functions that would make sure that if you selected action, you only see action movies. If you selected comedy, you only see um, comedy movies, for example. That's the example I could come up with. So if you have a better one, yeah, you can apply it, right? And then we have on select. Now, this is how the app responds when the user taps or clicks a control. So the on tap, the on tap one, um, the on select rather, I've already, we've already looked at it, and then we will still look at it. And then we have text, um, which appears on a control or that users type in a control. So you should know of that property. And then we also have a tooltip, which is an explanatory text that appears when a user hovers over a control. So let's say you are hovering, maybe something it's more of, it's not clear. Um, you just say, I don't know what I can make an example of, but then maybe whatever information you're requiring, it's not clear. You can use a tooltip to explain exactly what you want from the user. And then once they hover around that data card, um, a tooltip will appear to say, okay, we need A, B, C, D, you know? And then we have a visible, and then this controls the well, it controls the visibility of a control, right? So you would have seen that by the time I built the application, before creating a new screen, everything was in the same screen. The text of saying welcome Philip and Tankoza to today's training session was in the same screen as the button, but then I hid um, the text to say don't be visible until the button I've clicked is true, or until the value of the button that I will select will be set to true. And then once that is true, that's when that text control was visible. Okay, let's look at entering and displaying data with text control. Now, text controls are used for all kinds of purposes, such as displaying text, numbers, dates, and calculating currency. Now, available text controls are labels. A label shows data that you specify as a literal string of text which appears exactly the way you type it, or as a formula that evaluates uh, to a string of text. So that welcome to training session, it was a label, and then it had some formula to get the name. So then that means it's not only static, it gets to change, it's dynamic. So if a different user logs in and then clicks the attend button, I will surely get their name to be in that label, right? Okay, and then we have a text input, which is a box in which the user can type text, numbers, and other data. And then we also have what we call an HTML text. Now, an HTML text control not only shows plain text and numbers, but also converts HTML tags such as non-breaking spaces. And we also have what we call a rich text editor. Now, the rich text editor control provides the app user with an editing area for formatting text. Now, this is which editing area. So it's WYSIWYG editing area. And then we have a pen input, which is a control that a user can draw, erase, and highlight areas of an image, right? And then you can also use pen input for signature if you require application to have some sort of signing ability. You can use pen input control to sign. And then, okay, we have a demo where you get to use or to leverage this text controls. We will get to look at them. We are almost done with the slides, and then we will get to dive deep into building our Canvas app. Okay, so let's look at controls with pre-populated values. So we have drop down, we have a combo box, we have a list box, we have a checkbox, and we have a radio button. Okay, so a drop down will help conserve screen real estate. Now the control takes up only one line unless the user selects the chevron to reveal more choices. It can show a maximum of 500 items. Okay, and then we have a combo box which allows you to search for items you will select, and the search is performed on the server on the search field property of performance and is not affected by large data sources. We also have a list box which always shows all available choices, unlike a drop-down control, and in which the user can choose more than one item at a time. So um, you this this list box, it's almost similar to a drop down, but then you can choose more than one item. right? And then we have a checkbox, and then it's a control that the users can select or clear to set its values or its value to true or false. Then the user can specify a Boolean value by using this familiar control. And then we have a radio button, which is a standard HTML input control and is best used with only a few manually exclusive options like male, female, like yes, no, um, and other options that you can think of. Okay, and then we have control um, controls for ratings, which is a slider and rating. So users can indicate a value between a minimum and a maximum value that you specify by dragging the handle of a slider left, right, or up, down, depending on the direction that you choose. And then we have rating, which users can indicate, for example, how much they liked something by selecting a certain number of stars. Rating is also referred to as star rating. And then we also have other available controls such as a toggle. A toggle button, it's a button that you click. It's more like an on and off button that you would use, and it enhances the user, it enhances the UI of the app. It functions in the same manner as the checkbox control. And then we also have a timer which can determine how your app responds after a certain amount of time passes. And we also have what we call a button. Everyone knows a button, where you can configure the on-select property of a button control to run one or more formulas when the user clicks or taps the control. Now, the button control is frequently used to submit data to the data source. But then you would recall that in module 1, we made an application that sets a value to true so that we can see our text, our welcome text. So you can quite do a lot of things by leveraging a buttons on select property. Okay, and media controls. Um, We've looked at what media control is, but then we haven't really gotten into detail about that media control. So media control gives the app designer a way to display, share an audio file or video file easily, take a picture, scan a barcode, and do extra functionalities that you want to do. So with the video, it plays a video clip from a file or from YouTube or Azure Media Services. And then we have a barcode scanner, which opens a native scanner on an Android on iOS device. We also have microphone control that allows app users to raw sound from raw sound from their device as long as the device has a microphone accessible. And then we also have add picture, where users can take pictures or upload image files from their device and update the data source with this content. We also have audio, where you can play a sound clip from a file, a recording from a microphone control, or the audio track from a video file. And we also, lastly, we have a camera, which allows the user to take photos by using the camera on the device. Okay, so we have an exercise of adding media to an app. We'll get to look at that. So we also have what we call an app checker. Now, an app checker indicates in real time if the app contains errors, and clicking on the item will take you to the formula, and clicking on the arrow there, as you can see on our right here, Now clicking on this arrow on the item will take you to the detail of the error. But then Power App Studios is now advanced that also on your screen, on your pane, that's your on your middle pane, you can see where the error is. It will show you a red. Well, it will show you a red a little icon that's red, and it has a white cross inside. And then you would know that, okay, this formula has an error, or whatever thing has an error. Okay. And then we have what we call variables. Um, I've obviously talked about variables, and I said a variable is a container where you would want to store a specific information. It can be a true or false, it can be a name of a person, it can be whatever information that you would want to store in a variable, right? And we have global variables, which is an app-wide scope, and the primary function. This is how you would set a variable. And you would say set and then current name, and then you would put in either a comma or a semicolon. So it's very weird, but then I can't explain it how, right? So in other people's machines, you can use a comma and then it will work in all the functions. So if your function receives more than one argument, you can put in a comma in between those arguments and it will work fine. And then in other machines, or rather desk laptops or devices, if you put in a comma, it will give you an error. So if it gives you an error, you should know that you just replace that comma with a semicolon, and then it will work fine. Yeah, it doesn't make sense, but I know that's how it works, right? And then we also have um, context variables, which are local scope variables. Now, the screen's context, so they would exist in a specific, they would be in a specific screen only, and then you would be able to use them to that specific screen. So here we have a primary function, which is a navigate, and then you also have an update context. So you can also use update context. So if you want your value to only be local to your screen scope, so then you would use update context, and then you would specify um, the name of, you would update context, you would use also curly braces inside that function, and then um, specify your variable, and then assign it, and then you would use a colon to assign whatever you want to assign. Okay, to assign the variable that you want to assign, to assign the information to the variable. Okay, and then we have collections, which is a web, which is an app-wide scope, and then it's tables only, right? And the primary function would be collect, clear, collect, update, and remove. So collections, we will get to look at them. So you can consider collections as arrays, right? And then arrays of information. So if you want to have an array of information, so for instance, maybe I want to save information. Let's say I'm doing some sort of calculations, and then I want to save all those calculations in within the app before saving them to a data source. So what I will do is I will use a collection or a clear collect function where I will save those variables, and then they will fall under it. It would just create an array of variables, and then after using after saving that array of variables, I can maybe save them in my data source, or I can use them somewhere in the app. Okay, and then Now let's look at components. We are about to wrap up this module, and then we'll get to build application, the Canvas application. Okay, so let's look at the components. We have reusable building blocks, which are reusable building blocks, and then they can be used multiple times, and then custom properties, defined interface with hosting screens, and then you can import and export those components. So you would find components near the screens in your left side pane. Okay. And then we have component custom properties, which can be input or output, and default value is assigned based on the data type. And then we have a demo where you create a component, and then we have offline capabilities of a Canvas app. So mobile users often need to be productive even when they have limited or no connectivity. So when you build a Canvas app, you can perform these tasks, open Power Apps Mobile, open Power Apps Mobile and run apps when offline. So you can also determine when an app is offline or online or in a method a connection by using connection signal object. And then you can also perform you can also use collections and leverage the load data and save data functions for basic data storage when offline. So also you can use a collection, right? So let's say you are offline, and then if you are offline, you can say, maybe I'm applying for something, or I'm creating a new record. So I can save that record in a collection and then leverage load data and save data functions so that I can store that data. And then once I'm online, it can be then stored into the data source. But then we also have limitations to load data and save data, right? Um, these functions are limited by the amount of available app memory because they operate on an in-memory collection. So available memory can vary depending on the device, the operating system, and the memory that Power Apps Mobile uses, and the complexity of the app in terms of screens and controls. So if you store more than a few megabytes of data, test your app with expected scenarios on the devices on which you expect it to run. And you will generally have about 30 to 70 megabytes available, um, of memory available, right? And then the functions also don't automatically resolve the match conflicts, right? So when a device comes online, you you should configure on what data is saved and how to handle reconnections reconnections when the connectivity gets back up. And also you should make sure that you handle every conflict that may happen, that whenever the user comes back online and then you are trying to write that data to the source. Okay, and then that is the end of um, the module. Now we will get to look at building that actual model driven that actual Canvas app. Um, excuse me for that. Okay, um, so please don't. Okay, I will definitely send the link. Um, I'll definitely send the link. I thought by now they sent the YouTube links, but then I see they haven't. So I will definitely share the recording links with you guys. So Since we have covered the module, let's now take about a 10 minutes break. And then once we come back, we get to build the model driven app and then conclude module 3. Before we take a break, do we have any questions? Okay, looks like we don't have any questions, so let's take a 10 minutes break. We will be back at about 24 minutes to 11. Okay, yeah, now we can continue with building our model-driven app, our Canvas app. Okay, first thing first, we need to go to make.powerapps.com. Then I will sign in. Okay, so because we have about 3 different ways of creating this app, so I'm gonna just create it from 2. Um, I'm gonna create it in 2 ways, one from a template and then, well, I'm not gonna create it from a template. I'm gonna create it from a data source and then create a blank application. So for now, let's create it from a data source just to refresh or recap. So if I'm building it from a data source, here I'm going to use a SharePoint list. A list is, it would be my data source where I would be saving an information. So then I'll have to add the SharePoint connector first. So, I'm thinking, okay, before, let me go create a list because I think I might not have a list here. I need to go to SharePoint first, and then I'll create a list. That, or rather a data source that I will be using to create my application from. Yeah, I will use my test station. A. Mm, it looks like I have a work progress tracker. So if I have a work progress tracker, I'll just create it from that. Yep, all looks good. So I'm gonna select the site from which that data source is, and then I will connect. So creating it from a data source, you necessarily don't need to do most of the heavy lifting. So the most of the heavy lifting will be done by Power Apps itself. It will create an application that has a view, and there we have it. They didn't even take time, right? So we have our main view. This is where we will have all our work items. So work item, work progress tracker, it checks the progress of each and every project. So here I have a Power Apps training um, that has not started, so I can add many much more. So you will note that this information fall under a gallery, and then I have an arrow here, and this arrow is for going or viewing the details of this specific work item. So in order for me to test, all I need to do is just to click the play button here. And then because um, I already have one work item, I'll just click on the arrow and then it navigates me to for the screen, to the detail screen, rather where I get to see what's happening with that current work item. right? Because that progress is not started, I'll just change it to started. Um, once I click that edit button, it takes me to another screen where I'm able to edit, um, information of this. Okay, so I'm gonna click done, and it will take me back to here, to the detail screen, right? So far we seen what, 1, 2, and 3 screens. So you see, I didn't need to alter anything. Maybe what I might need to alter here, maybe changing the theme, because I don't like this blue. So in order for me to change the theme, oh, okay, there we go. In order for me to change the theme, I just need to come to theme, and then I can choose the theme that I want. And yeah, mm, the themes are not that nice, but then okay, let me choose something else, gray maybe. And then once I've selected that, we should be able to see my app that it has changed. That blue changed to gray. And yeah, so also when I come here, I should be able to see that grayish color. And then also I've mentioned that once this, you can't change it directly, but then this one I can change it. I can change the color of my okay, let me try and see. I can try and change the color of my rectangle, right? Or the background color there. I can try and change it to something red. But then here, I can't really come and try and alter everything. Let's see. Let's see if I can be able to change. So as you can see, okay, that's the text color. So let's see the filling color. So the filling color is only there. So if I click play and then I try maybe to see, you see this color won't change at all. So then you should be aware of that whatever theme you've chosen, um, such controls will just adopt that theme, and then you won't be able to directly change them. So also because we have only one, I can just click this to add the work progress. Um, let's say is PL 100 training. I will just say module 3, creating Canvas apps in Power Apps. So that's the category. And also another thing worth mentioning, we have this drop down here, and then it has some sort of multiple selection, right? So um, a drop a drop down, you would be able to select only one, but then you can also make sure that you can select others. So as you can see here, I can only select one, but then here I can select multiple items, right? So um, just be aware of these properties, and the priority I'm just going to say is critical. The date is today, and obviously my screen. Well, I'll just leave the dates because I can't see up to this far. My screen is a little bit crippled that side. Okay, so I'm just gonna click that and it's gonna create, right? Then once I click edit, so Now you get to see what you okay. The edit on the edit part. So basically that means this app has how many forms. It only has two forms. The one the first one is for viewing the details, and then the other one is for either editing or creating. So if you can see here, I'm editing, right? And then you can see also the color here is red. So I'll go back, I'll come here to new. So you see it's the same thing. So the architecture of your application is very important. Know how you want your application to be like, and then also make sure that you just reuse all your components. You can reuse them as many as you want, but then you have to make sure that your logic it's figured out, it's straight and forward, and then it gives you room for you to reuse these um, components and controls. Okay, yeah. Essentially, you don't need to do much here, unless if you want to add additional functionalities and everything. But then this is how you would create an application from a data source or from a SharePoint list. Okay, and then so now whew, we also have insert. So okay, okay. So I'm gonna just save this application first because I'm gonna just call it a work item tracker app. Then I'm gonna save it. So what I'm trying to achieve now, I see they've changed also the ribbon. It's no longer the same. Okay, so yeah, now the app version history is here. So usually you would have home here. There would be this back button and then there would be home. And then from home, that's where you would do all most of your information. But then I see they've changed it. And then you also have variables collections that are here. Okay, this is interesting. So yeah, now that I've saved my app, I can come to app version history. Right, and then you can see we only have one version of the app, and then it's the one that's live, right? So a question comes, what happens if now you change your application and then you move to a second version? So I'm just gonna change just smaller things, nothing major, colors here and there, so that we can see the difference, right? um, Background color, I'm just gonna make it so that we can see the difference. Um, okay, maybe it's absorbed. Uh, this one maybe a little bit darker. Okay, and then I'm just gonna save it. Okay, and then also we have what we call an app checker here, which is responsible for checking if you have any errors. So as you can see, we don't have any errors. And then should there be any errors, you would see a red dot here. And then also, as I said, that Power Power App Studio now is more advanced. So you see now that we have an error. There's the app checker telling you that we have an error. But then also here we have some sort of an exact location of where the error is. So once you click here, you click edit, you would come to your formula, obviously, because once you click here and then you click edit that formula, it will take you exactly where that error is. So here I just removed the T, so I'm just gonna put back that T, right? And then that's essentially all there is, hey. But then I'm gonna save it. And then let's see the version history. So you see I have one, two other versions, version 2 and version 3 of the application. So I can see more options of version management. Okay, so then now that I'm here, I can choose now. Okay, the work item track app is logged by, okay, because I'm editing this side, it will say it's logged. And because I'm editing, it will say it's logged. And then ideally what I would want to do is just to go to go to the go to version 2 or move to version 2 instead. Okay, and maybe if I close this one also. Okay, here let's say I want to delete. Okay, let me admit someone. Let's say I want to delete that one, and then automatically this becomes version 1, version 2 becomes version 1, version 3 becomes version 2. So now once I come to my app, it's a work tracker app. And I'm gonna click edit. And that means version 1 should be the one that's responsible now. Should be the one that's responsible for, should be the one that's live, actually. So I'm gonna try and publish it and see. Okay. And let's see. We don't have the live. Okay, so this is where I would share, but then I want also to make a one to be live. Ah man, it just restored. The one that I don't want. Okay, pass assignment, blah, 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 blah. Okay, so let me share the app and see which one is live. So the owner is Philip, obviously. So let me see. Let me see. Who do I want to share it with? I would want to share it with Philip at offer.co.za. And then also, because I'm sharing it, it will require me to make sure that I have some sort of writing permissions here so that I can be able to write to that app. If I don't, then that means I won't be able, I can view the information, but then I won't be able to actually uh, um, write to that app. So I'm gonna just do that. And then I should be, permissions were changed successfully, and then it should send an email to invite me. So let me try and find, let me try and log in. Mm, Let me just come here. Okay, it's Philip at offer.com at offer.co.za. Um, SpongeBob. Okay. Also, I would want to look at my emails. And then here we have it. I can see that they've shared um, the app with me. I can click run app. Hey, you don't have permissions to view data. Okay, so that means also with viewing data, I need permissions. So these are the things that you need to know, and also be mindful of, that whenever you're sharing the app, you should make sure that whoever, I'm gonna add myself. Okay, then I'm gonna save. Now I should be able to access this. So you should always make sure that is whoever you share the app with has the view and create, well, has the CRUD, read, write, update, and read, write, update, and delete permissions to that data source. Okay, now that I have access, I see that it's still on that version that I deleted, because my work item was gray. I changed it to red, right? So it has to be now that, okay, that's an email. It has to be that the app is not published. And now since they've moved stuff, I'm asking myself, where is the publish button? Come on. Okay, I can't seem to edit this. Oh, I'm just a user. I can't, opened the wrong one. Okay. Yeah, this should be where I'm supposed to now. Okay. So I'll just click edit and then see where the publish button is. And then once I see the publish button, then we'll get to look at which app is live, which one is not live, and everything. So let's wait for it to load. Okay, so then I just have to say save and publish, which would automatically make this one to be live. So ideally, mainly I would save, and then I would go to home, and then under home, that's where I would publish. So hence I was struggling with finding the publish button, but then I see the publish button is on the other side. So now we can see that, okay, our version 3 is the one that's live, right? And then I can delete other versions, or I can just leave them, and then whenever I think that I need to revert, I can revert back to them. Okay, and then that's creating the application from a data source. So now let's look at creating an application from a a blank canvas, right? So which application should we build? I'm just gonna say new app, which is a canvas app, and I'm asking myself, okay, let's do, because I love this university application idea. Let's do a university application. Um, let's do a university application app. Okay, I can call it Unication, something of that sort. And then, yeah, there we have it. We have our first screen. Then our first screen, I'm gonna name it to being home. And yeah, so we're gonna need to brand it and everything. So I'm just gonna insert a rectangle, because I don't like the color. I'm just gonna try and change the theme right away. Let me use this red. Okay. So the assumption is that the user is already logged in. So what they would want to see is their previous applications and all the check the statuses of the applications. They should be able to create new applications as well and do all those things, right? So I've inserted a rectangle here. Um, so now we're gonna insert a text label, which is a text control. And what do we wanna say? I'm just gonna call it unication, like that. And then here, that's where we can be able to alter our how our font, our text looks like. So I'm gonna just do something like that. Maybe make it bold. Okay, so I have unication here. So because the assumption is that the user is already logged in, I'm gonna also leverage media, the media, and then under media, I'm gonna leverage image. So the image will be here, but then it's thinking of you are logged in. So here we wanna see your profile. You should see your profile and everything, your image and maybe a welcome message or your full names here, right? So I'm gonna add an image here. I want it to be uh, rounded. I want it to be some sort of a circle. So that means I have to check for radius. Okay, here's border radius. Let me just say 50. And then there we have an image. So if we think it's a bit bigger, we can make it a bit smaller. Okay, so you can see on the sides it's a little bit squashed, so I'm gonna try and find. Okay, now, okay, yeah, back. So let's make it, let me make it 50. So all I'd have to do now is try and correct the width. Okay, something of the sort. And then how then do I get my image here? We use the user function. We have looked at personalization. You just say user. Ooh, yes, and then I'll just say dot, and then I can get image. And there you have it. There's my image there, and then we're gonna have another uh, text control, which is a text label. It's just gonna come here, and the text here, I don't want text per se, but I want to leverage the user function yet again. And then here, either I can leverage the full name or the email. So I'm gonna leverage the full name and give it some color so that it's visible. Yeah, nothing fancy, just something of the sort. All right, so yeah, I'm not the best designer in the world, I know. So yeah. Okay, so now here, it's a landing screen, right? So I'd want to have some sort of another rectangle here. So you just have to be creative here, right? Um, I'm gonna zoom in because whatever I wanna do, it will require some sort of, okay, and then I'm just Yeah, so also the positioning. So because I want a white line in between to differentiate between this one, this, and this. Um, and as you can see, once I try to drag and drop, it just combines everything. So in order to alter and to make sure that that line is there, all I added was a Y, increased Y position. So I let them to combine and then increased a space between this and this by altering the Y position of my second rectangle. Okay, I'm gonna make it to be, now I can zoom back. Okay, so ideally what I wanna do here is to put in some sort of a ribbon where I'd have all my buttons here. So I think now the space is a bit too much. Let's just make it 3 or 4. Yeah, something of that sort. Now maybe I can change the color to be something else. I don't want, or it can be some sort of lighter. Oh, that's darker. Okay. Yeah, I'm not the best of the design or whatever you may call them. So yeah. So you'd have to bear with me. So here, what I'd want to do, I want to add icons. Um, okay, I want icons. I can't seem to see them, so I'll just search icons, and then there we have it. So I will have a button, and then this button would be here. And then you would want to change the color. Also, the color combination. My color combination is very bad, so yeah, you will forgive me. Okay, and then that's for adding a new application. Then below here you would see all the applications. So also what I want to see, it would be some sort of filtering, right? What do I want to do? I want some sort of filtering. Hmm. Okay, I'm gonna take a date picker. Why date picker? This it would be my filter, so we get to actually leverage some of the functions that we have. So here, I'll just say filter application by year. Because you would be seeing all your applications, so you would want to filter them. You might want to have some sort of filtering to see, okay, 2016, I want to see all my applications. 2017, everything, So yeah, something of that sort. And then because my color combination is that bad, I'm gonna make it a little bit bolder. Okay. Okay, and then the position, I'm just gonna more in 5 there so that it stays in between. Yeah. Okay. And also if you have other filters as well, you can add them. You can add quite a lot of them there, right? And then here, how do we then get to add all the applications that we've had, and we will get to display them using what we call a gallery. So if I come to my controls and I come to media control, I should have a gallery, which is a vertical gallery. It's a little bit big, I know, but then you can definitely work on that. So in order for us to work on that, you just click one, make sure that whatever you have in here, you can limit it. So for now, I'm just gonna style it. What do I want? So you see, if you prefer having a gallery like that, you can have some sort of a gallery like that. Uh, so you can have a something like that, or even you can have a custom one. You don't need to have, you can build your own look and feel of the gallery. So me, I just want some simple stuff, something of this sort. All right. And then because it's very big, I'm just gonna make it to be like that. And I want some spacing. I would add 7 so that it doesn't step on my, let me just say 9 maybe. Okay, yeah. So this is where we will see all the applications. And yeah, now we can come and create a new screen because I think our home is a little bit better now. I'm gonna create a new screen. And now this screen is where now I'll be, okay, let me rename it. Let me just say it's an application. This is the application screen here. Okay. Okay, so what do I wanna take? I wanna take this. I wanna take, yeah, I just wanna take this whole thing here so that I don't have to redo it again. I'm gonna copy. I'm gonna come here and I'm just gonna say paste. Right, and then there we have it. And then here, essentially, we will have a form, and a form that will require just the details, 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 details. So what I would need to do is to insert a control, a form control. Is it part of the media? No, it's not. And then, yeah, we have an edit form. So now, because we haven't created our data structure as yet, our form won't have much of any information, right? And also what I wanna copy is that button. So I want us to actually use that navigation here to submit and everything. So all our buttons will be here instead of them being down there. So I'm gonna copy this. I'm gonna come here and I'm gonna paste it. I'm gonna leave it like that, and then I'm gonna add info. Okay, and then this one then can go. Okay, and the position, I'm gonna give it a little bit of space, and then add in, let's say 7. Okay, good. So here we're gonna have just a few things. We can have also, if we think our form is very long, we can have multiple forms, right? And then those forms, or rather not multiple forms, but then can show specific, we can have a form and then have some sort of a stepper that guides the use. Okay, now it's personal information, and now it's educational information, and everything that uh, everything of that sort. So every time once you click, it goes to that. But then also, I'm not gonna try and cover everything because I also have to consider time. Just gonna say icon, and then the icon, I would wanna say can be this one, or I can have the save icon. But then, yeah, let's just stick to using this one. Okay, and then we can have another icon also. Oh, here they are. So I don't need to go all the way. I can have a back icon, I think. So oof, I shouldn't have clicked that one, by the way. Oh, I can. Okay, awesome. So I need to go to insert, and then I will come and get a back button. To save time, let's just say back. Oh, not ideally the one that I would use, because I'm considering also how this one looks, but then you can definitely get to change it. So here, I think I can change it from here. For uniformity, you should use icons that looks almost the same. And then I'm going to change the color of that icon as well as the width. And then here, because we have an icon already, so I'm just going to say, I'm just going to leverage the back. I'm going to leverage the back function, so that we can now get the ball rolling. We can also don't focus only on the styling and everything. We can also get to look at the navigations and everything. So here on the edit, I'm gonna just say navigate, and then I'm gonna say to application, which is my screen. And then as you can see here, I'm using a semicolon. For you, it might require you to use some sort of might require you to use a comma instead. So now let's play and then let's see what happens. As you can see, it covers from right to left, and then I'm gonna use back, and then it uncovers. You see, and then that's how you get to leverage. That's how you get to leverage your. That's how you get to leverage your. What do we call navigation? So yeah. For now, we're gonna have something like that, and then so here maybe I can have a label instead, because um, you can go wild as long as you have the time to do that. You can have some sort of stepper here, separate your forms into smaller chunks. Once you submit the first one, then you get to move to the other one, and so and so and so. Just application. Okay, just don't limit yourself. If you think you are capable, just do it. Wherever you get stuck, just let me know. I'll be I'll be available for any assistance. Okay. And I'm gonna put it there. Then I'm gonna change the color to be white, and then the font size to be a little bit bold. Semi bold or bold? Semi bold. Okay, and then we have something like this. So now what's left is just for us to actually create a data source that we will get to leverage. So I'll come here. Obviously, I'll use SharePoint. I'll create a list from SharePoint, and then we can get to leverage it. I'm gonna come, let me just go to home. And then here I will create a new list. And I can call it unication. Unication. I'm not gonna have a lot of things here, right? So um, for saving time, I'm not gonna have a lot of things. Um, I'm gonna just come here and then change title to name. Name. So also we have similar data types from the Dataverse. So I'm not gonna spend time trying to. Okay, I'm gonna say surname. So we have a single line of text. We have multiple line of text. We have a number. We have a yes or no. We have a person or a group. So here you can search a person. Then we have date and time, which can be date only or date and time. Then we have um, a choice here, which you would get to do a drop down, something of that sort. We have a hyperlink. We have currency, location, and it will search locations on real lifetime map. And then we have image. We have metadata, and then we have a lookup, which creates relationships. Okay. Um, okay. I couldn't see that, but then I hoped for the best. So I'm gonna create number and I'm gonna just call it ID. And then also, you can make this to be required and force unique values. Well, yeah, it has to be unique. And ID is unique. You have to make sure that whoever is applying has a unique ID, right? Require this column. Yep. And then we're just gonna. Oof. So I'm a little bit blind on the bottom, so hence I'm reaching. So a column named ID already exists. I'm just gonna say ID number then. I'm gonna save. What else? We can have some sort of location. Should I have location? Location as address. Um, Not a lookup. I'm just gonna click more. So here, let's see. Doesn't look like I have location here, so I'm gonna go back and then get location from here. So how do I get location? I'll just select a single line of text and then I can come here and change it to location. I need a street address, a city, a street, and postal code, maybe a country, and then I'll just say address. Okay, okay, it's saved at least. And then, okay, so there we have our information that has been added. And then also now, what would we need? Maybe number as phone number like that. Okay, and then lastly, maybe let's just say an email. I'm not gonna cover everything because of time, right? Okay, so there we have it. We have just a smaller data source. It doesn't have educational background. It doesn't have a lot of information as yet, right? So be aware of that. Okay, so I'm gonna come here to my form because my form doesn't really have anything, so it doesn't have a data source. So what I would do is that I would come to here so that I can hook it up to that data source. I will search for connectors, and then that connector should be SharePoint because my data resides in SharePoint, and I'll choose where that is. and then it's here, and I'm gonna edit. Then once the source is added, all the columns or all that information about that will be here. So as you can see, we have that. So come on. Okay. As you can see, also you can have attachments where you can attach, and then so if you think your things are not ordered as they should be, you can just drag and drop. So I'd want phone number to be maybe I'd want phone number to be maybe um, we can take phone number before an address. We can take the email before an email before we get the address of that person. Okay, and then you can add as many things as you want here, and then let's see. Okay, these ones are already on a view mode. We'll work on changing them. Okay, and yeah, basically now you have a form that has some sort of information that you can input, right? Um, Let me see something. I want to see if I insert everything here, will I be able to provide the address? So the address here, you only have to say, let me just say here, 159 Decor in Bram. And then it will create everything there is about that. So let me provide a name. Let me just say it's Philip. Surname is Koza. And the ID number can be something of that sort. I'm gonna save. Ooh, then I'm gonna save. Right? So automatically this address should fetch everything that's here. So I'm not sure. Maybe I should search that address first and then provide it. 179 Decor Street. Okay. So I'm gonna cancel this. I'm gonna put, and then let's see. Still not picking the address, but then anyway, it's fine. We can move on. That's not a train smash. Okay, so here, the button here is that we want to submit this form. And then question is, what's the name of the form? So if you want the name of this form, you just scroll through your left navigation or you try and click it, and then once it's been highlighted, then you can see the form, the name of the form here. So I'm just gonna say application form so that we don't struggle. So once I click here, what I want to do is just submit the form. So we have a function called submit form, and essentially that's all you do. And then um, the form that you want to submit, it will just appear, and then that's it. And then what I want is that if if the if it's successful, the submission of the form is successful. If it is successful, then I want to navigate back to my home screen. So how do I do that? You need to do this. You don't need to scroll from here. The reason why you don't need to navigate from here. Once you submit, you don't navigate. I It's a bad practice. Why? It's because even if you can find errors here, as long as you did navigate, the navigation will go through. So I just want to show you guys what I mean. I'll just say navi. Okay, I'm gonna add that, and then I will say navigation or navigate, and then I will say home, and then the transition would be uncover. Ooh. Right, so I'm gonna play the app now. Okay, so also the form mode have to be in a new mode, not an edit. Okay, so now that it's in a new mode, I can be able to insert information. So then for now, I'm not gonna insert anything, but then you can see this title is required and ID number is required. So that means I shouldn't be able to submit the form. But then if I navigate, I put my navigation in the button, the navigation will still go irrespective of the form is submitted or not. So let me click it. You see, I have an entry is required or has an invalid value. You see, I have an error in the form, but already I'm navigated here. So then there's no way that I would go back there because I can't. So if I come here now, I can see the error, right? So then how do we make sure that this doesn't happen? We only navigate if the correct information is provided, and also we only navigate if the submission is successful, is by coming to the form. The form has an option called on success. So that means on success, it essentially means once the data has been successfully submitted to your data source. So then that means I want to say once the data has been submitted, then you can navigate back. So then this is how it should be. And now once I click this, it would just say this information is required. I don't like how this is displaying though. Okay, something like that. Okay, so now I can provide maybe information. I can say Nkateko. Nkateko Kosa, and then I'm gonna provide also this. I'm not gonna provide the rest of the information, but I'm just gonna say, gonna click, and then once that is clicked, that means our data is successfully submitted, right? So then now we need to see that information here. So how do we do that? We come to gallery, we select gallery, and then it will tell you that it doesn't have a data source. So you have to select a data source. And then how do you do that? Is also in your app already, you can see that because on the form I already added that data source, it appears here. So I'll just click it. And then here we have it. We have the applications here, right? So how do I want to do this? Once this is selected, I want to navigate to the application screen. So me, I don't want to create another screen for viewing. So I want to take you to exactly editing. So either you can edit or you can just view the information in an edit mode and then um, go back whenever you want. Or the second option, I can add another form for editing, but then I can leverage it in the same screen as application. So it would be a matter of now me showing and hiding this one. Okay, so for now, what do I want to do? I want to I want to just show that information from here. So because I'll be selecting a specific item here, and then I want it to appear in my form here. I want essentially that means I want my form to be um, in an edit mode, and then that edit mode should have data. So what I would leverage here is that I'll come to my application form. We need to know the name of the gallery first. So the name of the gallery is gallery one because I will be getting information from this gallery. And then that information, it will be displayed in my form. So then how do I do that? In my form under advanced, there's item. So item is where if you have an existing data, you put that data in an item in the item field of this form so that it knows when I go to edit mode, I'm displaying this information. So under here, what you just do, you just call your gallery. You just say gallery one dot selected. So the selected item will then display. So as you can see, I selected what? I selected Philip Koza. So if I go back and then I select Kateko. Now there's no navigation, but then I will work on navigation. And then if I come to application, now I should be able to see Nkateko here. Okay, so now let's then get to go in the navigation. So once I select this arrow, not only do I select that information, but I want to navigate to application, and then I'm just gonna say cover, and then let's play and let's see what happens. If I click that, it's Nkateko, and then yeah, then if I click this, it should be Philip, then it's Philip. You know what? And then maybe I can add numbers for Philip, and then I'm gonna submit. And then now, if I come to Philip now, I should be able to see that I have numbers here. So, and then let's come to Nkateko. My add email, let's say Nkateko at offer.co.za. When I do that, and if I come, then I can see Nkateko at offer.co.za. So this eliminates the need for an edit. It eliminates the need for me to want a details screen. But then if you prefer having that, you can do. I mean, it's not a brainer. Um, so preferably what you would do, you would create a details screen. Uh, let me, and then I'm gonna just create a duplicate because it contains the same information, but then the difference is that when I say detail, the only difference now that we will have is within our form. Now our form will always be on a display, on a view mode. So if you come to default mode, I will just say view. And then now because it's a view, you can't edit anything, right? And then because you can't edit anything, I just want to move this up. This is not for submitting. It would be for navigate to application, and then I will just say the transition would be cover. Okay, and then the icon, I would want to change it to a pen for edit. And then when I come here, that means I no longer want to navigate to application, but I want to navigate to details. Yes, and then now if I come here, it will take me to a details screen, right? And then after taking me to a details screen, once I click this, it should take me now to an edit screen. So it doesn't really matter. But then for me, in order to make sure that the performance is up to speed, and then I can I can what? I can absolutely make sure that um, my application has lesser screens and it performs very well. I would eliminate such screens. But if the organization requires that, you should have those. You shouldn't insist on having that. And then also now, because we are using the very same screen for editing and for creating new data, once you click here, it will still have data because you are not resetting the form. So then now the question is, how do you handle that? You handle that by now coming here on your new, not only are you navigating, but you should also reset your form. So you should say new form, and then you would put in the name of that form, which is application form, and then you close it like that. And then once you have a new, once you click here, you are telling um, Power Apps that, okay, I want a new form, and then I want to navigate to that form. So once I click here, it creates a new form, and then I can insert anything I want. But then if I click here, it takes me to a details screen where I passed whatever I've selected. Then if I click edit here, now it's a it gives me what? It gives me that new form because I've resetted it. So I need now to add a control here to give information to my form. So how do I do that? I will come here to edit here, and then I will set a variable. Now that variable, I'll set it to, so I need to select the form first and take, or it's fine, I can just write it from scratch. So here I will say set, and then let's say form info. And then in here, I will just say gallery one dot selected. All right. And or if not, I can try this. Let's just say edit form. And then I don't necessarily need, I don't necessarily need to change. I can just say edit form, and then I change it back to edit because before the form, I resetted it into a new form. So if I do an edit form, now it should go and fetch that data. So if I come, voila, we have that. So now we have some sort of fully working application. I can add new stuff. I can update already existing stuff. And essentially that's Power Apps. I mean, we don't really have, we are left with only 5 minutes, and I see most of the colleagues are already out of the meeting. So I'm just gonna pack it here. Just go try it out. do exercises, whatever scenarios that you're thinking, just try them out. Whenever you get stuck, let me know. I'll be there to help. So yeah, that's it for creating uh, Canvas apps in Power Apps, and that's the conclusion of module 3.